Hello, in this video you will learn all about personnel files and what employee documents should be included. Plus you'll get access to our free downloadable checklist to ensure you have all documents in place for each employee. My name is Jennifer Hartman and I am the HR staff writer and human resources expert for Fit Small Business. You can read more about creating a personnel file in the article below. Now let's get started. A personnel file is a paper or electronic folder that contains HR and payroll documents related to new, existing, or past employees. The documents within an employee personnel file should cover the entire employment life cycle, from offer letters and W-4 forms to performance reviews and termination paperwork. It should also include basic employee documents and compensation information in compliance with federal and state labor laws. An employee personnel file should include legal documents such as tax and payroll forms, employee contracts and agreements, benefits forms, workers' compensation, and termination documents. Company documents such as the offer letter, signed employee handbook, job description, signed PTO policy, and signed non disclosure agreement. And employee documents such as the employee's resume, reference checks, background checks and drug testing results, performance evaluations, any warnings or written disciplinary actions, and educational transcripts if required. There are several employee related HR and payroll documents that every personnel file must contain. These include legal employment records such as payroll tax forms and employee employer agreements. The legal documents that every employee personnel file must have are basic employee information, such as name, address, phone number, and emergency contact details. IRS tax withholding forms like W-4s and W-9s, payroll and compensation information, including any paycheck or pay card data, contracts or agreements, such as non-compete agreement, an employment contract, or an agreement relating to a company-provided car or business credit card, employee benefits forms, like medical enrollment forms and beneficiary agreements, retirement forms, such as 401k, FSA agreements, HSA agreements, and more. Child support documents, including any legal or litigation documents. Workers' compensation, such as documentation of claims filed. And termination documents, like documented reasons why the worker was terminated, unemployment documents, insurance continuation forms such as COBRA, and more. For a full list of payroll forms you may need or more general questions about payroll, take a look at our guide on employer payroll forms or our How to Do Payroll article. Company and policy documents should be included in an employee's personnel file so they can be easily accessed by the employee's manager, payroll team, or employee if needed. While not required, these documents, such as signed policies, are good to keep on file. These should show when the employee acknowledged or signed certain policy documents in case of legal issues. Offer letter or employment agreement, signed employee handbook, job description for the position, signed PTO policy plus leave of absence, sick time, and vacation time records, signed non disclosure agreement, and signed sexual harassment policy. Note that in some states, employers are required to maintain sick time off records. If they're not stored electronically within your payroll system, it's a good idea to keep them in the employee's personnel folder. While you don't have to keep every document in an employee personnel file, it is good practice to keep documents that are collected upon hire, such as a resume or job application. Additionally, any written performance documents, such as goal setting records or disciplinary actions, can be kept in a personnel file. These include a job application, if applicable, resume, references and background checks, drug test results and signed policy, performance evaluations, including awards or citations for excellent performance, warnings and other disciplinary actions, including summaries of customer or employee feedback and notes on attendance, educational transcripts. For example, if you use a learning management system or online training portal, your employees' training and certificates will likely be stored electronically. And goal setting records. If you use performance management software, your employee goal setting documents will also likely be stored electronically. Business owners don't always recognize the importance of setting up personnel files until they're audited or served with a lawsuit. If you are operating in hindsight and nervous about getting everything set up for the employees that already exist, don't stress. Use the two checklists we've provided along with the steps for you to get your employee file folder set up and in order. You should complete the following for organizing and storing personnel records to ensure compliance and security. First, you need to take an inventory of what you already have for each employee. Be sure to take into account the documents that you already have and what you need from each employee. Use an employee personnel file checklist to make sure everything is in order. Each person might require their own list. It would be best if you audit files periodically to make sure every piece of information is up to date and accurate. Use a personnel file audit checklist to help keep track of what you've received. Ideally, you should create a personnel file for each employee on the date of hire. However, if you forget to do so, you can find documents like employee resumes, performance reviews, and tax forms in your email or online storage. Make sure you also have I-9s for each employee as well, but they should be kept in a separate file. Download our free checklist to help you understand what employment records to store. The checklist can be edited to add documents specific to your company. As we just reviewed, step 1 is to take inventory. Step 2 is to request items you need to complete each personnel file. If there are documents on your list that you cannot find in your files, you can request these documents from your employees. Give each employee their individual checklist to show what they need to submit to update their personnel file. And step 3, store documents. You will want to store your personnel documents in a file folder marked specifically for each employee by name. We recommend that you keep employee personnel files in a locked cabinet to safeguard confidentiality. And step 4, establish a regular personnel file audit. Schedule a periodic review of each employee's personnel file. This can be done when you conduct their annual evaluation. Ensure that the files are accurate, up to date, and complete. If not, you can ask the employee to provide you with the updated files or information. Please note that personnel files can be viewed during a government audit or subpoenaed in the event of a wrongful termination lawsuit. Maintaining accurate, up-to-date files will help you avoid liability. Federal labor laws apply to all employers covered by federal anti-discrimination laws, which is typically any employer with 15 or more full-time employees. However, the following laws applies to all businesses, and each agency has its own document retention requirements and guidelines. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission requires that employers keep all personnel or employment records for 1 year. Under the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, employers must keep payroll records for 3 years. Under the Federal Labor Standards Act, employers must keep payroll records for at least 3 years. State laws on personnel files revolve around whether or not an employee has a right to look at their personnel file. Many states have a provision that allows employees to request copies of documents in their files. In other states, employees may have to file a lawsuit to see their personnel file. The following states, highlighted in blue, allow employees to see some or all of the documents in their personnel folder: Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Minnesota, Iowa, Louisiana, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. Please see your state's Department of Labor website for more specific details. Maintaining personnel files is an important part of being an employer and protecting yourself from liability. It's a great way to organize employee data and provide support for human resource decisions. Download our free employee personnel file checklist and personnel file audit checklist below. For more information on hiring employees, watch our next video on employee onboarding.